Muy buenos días, nuevamente aquí les traigo otro video. Estamos visitando una huerto de manzanas, pero también tienen animales. Miren, ya se vino aquí una cabra y los cochinitos están peleando. No tan fácilmente les engaña uno. Están peleando ya los chanchos. Ahí está, que se enfoque la cámara bien. Está un pavo real, eso que ven hasta allá es un pavo real, miren. Ahí está la cabra, llevan los niños también, se van allá. Ese es un parque muy bonito, es la primera vez que yo estoy visitando este lugar, pero vamos a ver, aquí también tienen más cabras y tienen toros. Vamos a ver. Ahí están todos los animales. Tienen dos toros muy grandes, no puedo acercarme allá porque las personas a veces no les gusta que uno les tome la cámara. Y tienen los juegos para brincar. Y viene el tren. Hay mucha gente aquí. Y aquí estamos viendo las gallinas. Vamos a tratar de que se enfoque la cámara. Miren. Y ahí vienen, miren. Y aquí tenemos los turkeys, los pavos, mira. Y aquí están los pollitos chiquitos. Y de este lado tenemos los más gallos. Más gallos, de este lado tenemos los conejos.
He's waking up the other buddy. He's the
Y bien, aquí ahorita seguimos con el ride que vamos a ir a un vagón. Saluden a la cámara, aquí andamos con los amigos, están contentos porque vamos a caminar hasta allá. Ven el campo de maíz, no, ¿cómo se llama? Es el español, el laberinto de maíz. Aquí la gente. Y ahorita nos vemos. Bien, aquí venimos en el ride vagón. Aquí está el maizal.
Design is that of a scarecrow. Mike actually designs all of his own mazes. He uses a computer program And then when the corn grows to be about knee high, he has a handheld GPS and he's got coordinates marked on his guide as well. So he'll walk out in the field following his path, and his wife mows down the corn behind him. So then of course, as the corn grows in, you've got your maize created. Now the corn we use is field corn, and we will actually harvest this at the end of the season. Now, we don't grow for yield, but we have it, so we take it. Anyway, field corn, it's edible, but it's not known for having the best taste or texture. So if you want to eat some corn, you're typically going to look for a sweet corn bender. Field corn is usually used as animal feed or for processed corn products. Now the way corn grows is if we look at the top of the stalk here, that's the corn tassel. So that's where pollen comes from the plant. Where that pollen wants to go is onto these hairs. That hair is called the corn silk. So each piece of silk actually runs down in the cob and connects to an individual kernel. So that kernel won't grow unless the silk connected to it has been pollinated. Now, have you guys seen that Indian corn or that multicolored corn? The way you get that to grow is if you have several varieties of corn in one area. As the different varieties pollinate the different pieces of silk, the kernels that grow out from that are going to be a different color. So we've got pretty boring field corn this year, but a couple years ago when I did the demonstration, we had some blue corn variety that got into the field. So you would have random blue kernels that kind of cropped up on the cob. You kids want to see some corn?
Ahí están las calabazas. Aquí hay más arbolitos de manzanas. El amigo este nos estaba diciendo hace unos momentos que para tener una buena calidad ellos los injertan, hacen miles de pruebas en un árbol. Pero lo curioso es de que dice que si ellos plantan o hacen crecer una manzana de la semilla que ya tienen, no va a ser la misma calidad o va a ser la misma calidad que es de esa manzana que ya está al árbol. Entonces ellos lo injertan y lo hacen una nueva especie. Las clonan.
They're pretty hardy, so you actually don't really need to get the weeds out of the field for them to grow. Anyway, here we have some equipment. This is a water tank. I'm sure you guys are well aware here in the state of Minnesota, it's been a pretty poor year for rain. The farmers tell me this is the worst drought they've seen since 1988, and that of course affects how we have to take care of our trees here at the orchard. So for this water tank, it's kind of a funny story, kind of sad. But at the start of the year, Mike had like 5 of these, but as he was cleaning stuff out of the orchard, he said, well, I've never had to use these. They're just taking up space. So he ended up selling off all but the one. Because wouldn't you know, that's the 1 year he actually needed them. So luckily, he did have the one, though. So he got some good use out of it. So the way he watered the trees this year was he would load this up in the back of his pickup truck and then fill it up. And this holds over 250 gallons of water. So it takes the better part of an hour just to fill it up. And once it's ready to go, we kind of he and a helper slowly drive in between the trees. And while one person's driving, the other person just kind of counts a couple seconds and kind of gives a rough meter of water per tree. Now even with 250 gallons, this doesn't go nearly as far as you'd like. I think with one of these tanks you can get maybe one row done and then you have to fill it up again. So they had to make plenty of trips. I think they estimate this last year they had to come out 300 times with this, and that's 100,000 gallons of water. But that's what you got to do when there's no rain coming from the sky. And especially for trees like these were just planted this year. The younger trees aren't going to have the deep roots that the older ones do, so they're going to be a lot more susceptible to droughts. But speaking of these trees, as I said, they're just planted. Mike decided to actually go with a variety of apples developed outside of Minnesota this year. So part of these are Evercrisp trees, and Evercrisp was designed in Washington, and it's a cross between a Honeycrisp and a Fuji apple. So I'm kind of looking forward to trying that one out. The one he's most proud of, though, this one again comes from the University of Minnesota, but it's such a new variety that when they planted them this year, it did not even have an official name yet. It's a hybrid of Honeycrisp that's been bred to be particularly resistant to apple scab, which Honeycrisp are particularly susceptible to. It has now since been named, it's known as the Triumph apple, as triumph over apple scab. And he had to actually like twist some arms and beg at the U of M to get them out here. So we're pretty proud to be one of the few orchards in the state to have them this early. We're looking forward to trying them out. But I think people do ask how soon we can expect to have them. And whenever you plant a young tree like this, for the first year for sure, and probably for the second year as well, you want to come out and actually cut all the fruit off before it can even grow. And that way you're forcing the tree to grow, growing a stronger trunk. So that way it'll be ready to give you a lot of fruit for years to come after that. Okay. All right, any questions, guys? Here we go.
Bien, lo que estaba diciendo es de que ahí adelante esos árboles, una combinación de dos manzanas que ya están, se llaman Honeycrisp y Fuji. Esos árboles todavía no están listos, pero está diciendo que para que un árbol dé mucha fruta, el primer fruto que da lo tiene que cortar antes de que crezca. Me imagino que cuando está las bolitas pequeñas las cortan, las tiran.
The one we get a free apple.
Oh wow, ok, nos van a regalar manzanas aquí.
These are good ones today. These are Sweet Tango.
Sweet Tango se llama.
Sweet Tango is a cross between a Honeycrisp and a Zestar.
Okay, esta es una combinación de Honeycrisp con Zestar. Dos tipos
I could walk around, guys. We'll get everyone an apple.
Oh, okay.
Bueno, vamos a probar. Thank you.
No, I'm sure everyone knows the Honeycrisp. Zestar is
Esa es una manzana. Es una manzana que viene de una que es bien jugosa y muy dulce, por eso se llama Honeycrisp. Cruzada con muy crujiente, muy dulce y jugosa.
Mike has to actually come out and prune his trees. And while that helps control the size of them a little bit, the main thing you're trying to do is...
Bien, miren, aquí estamos en el huerto de las manzanas ya, donde nos había dicho el muchacho. Pero ya casi ya no hay, están demasiado altas. A la gente les gusta bastante el sabor de esas manzanas. A ver si... Bueno, puedo cortar una. Ahí está, miren. Son muy buenas. Aquí ya tenía yo otras dos. Así. Y ya todo esto se terminó. Los surcos siguen hasta allá. Todo. Bien, ahora vamos a ir a la forma de vaca. Digan hola. Y agárrense.